So last month, we talked about fear versus faith, and I told y'all I would come back and do another one. So last time we were talking about faith over fear, and we were talking about how I really was in doubt and didn't know it, you know? So this time I want to talk to you guys about fear disguised as faith. And you know, I always talk to you guys about my faith testimonies, and I even started talking to you guys when I was in the middle of it. But what about when you have faith failures? Like, you know, what about when you think you in faith and it don't work out how you thought it would, you know? So I wanted to talk to you guys about a couple times that happened to me. So what I realized is that fear can be disguised as faith. And my fear really was a fear of missing it, like a fear of not being right, a fear of being wrong, making the wrong decision, which is really pride, right? And it comes with condemnation and shame and all that stuff. And God never wants us to be in condemnation and never ever wants us to be in shame, right? Jesus died for that. Jesus died for our freedom. So if I'm in condemnation or shame, it's not of God. So let's talk about it. So we all, like, even the best of us will miss it, you know? So just repent. Ask God to help you do better and move on, because He already forgave you. You know, He's already moved on, so why don't you, right? So I'm gonna tell y'all about the story about my house. And I think I had said it some videos ago. I was talking about how I ended up getting the house for $450,000 when I was really supposed to get it for $275,000. And I told y'all I'd come back and talk to y'all later. So that's where we are right now, all right? So what happened was I was believing God for this 5-bedroom, 3-bathroom house right off of the freeway, and I wanted all these things, all these checks. So in faith, I put my house on the market, and I started looking for a house, and I wanted it to be a foreclosure because I'm a realtor, right? I need to get a deal. So I'm looking for a house that's undervalued and all that stuff, and I ended up finding one. Man, when I walked in it, I just knew it was my house. Like, I just knew it, just knew it was my house. It had everything I wanted. And so me and my kids had went to see another house in the same area, but it was like 10 minutes from the freeway. And it didn't have everything I wanted, but it did have a few things that I didn't have on my list. So it had, I was looking at the house in the neighborhood, and I'm like, Lord, I really want my house to have an arch in front of it. And I'm like, I really wanted to have French doors, right? And when I saw this house, it had French doors on the office that I wanted, and it had the arch. Oh, and another thing I said is I wanted the master bathroom to have a corner jacuzzi. So it even had the corner jacuzzi, and I'm like, all right now, you know, so I'm super excited. And I told this story on Facebook Live like a couple years ago when I first got the house, and it was a testimony when I was telling it. But I'm gonna tell y'all the whole, the in and out, the testimony, the faith failure, all that. I'm putting it all out there because I don't want y'all to make the same mistakes I made, okay? Come to find out, it was a person who already had an offer on the house, right? So they had the offer on the house, and I'm like, Lord, this can't be right. I just sensed that it was my house. Like, I just knew that it was my house. Like, I just had that peace on the inside of me, plus that excitement, that joy. And the Bible says the Lord leads us by peace and joy, right? And then it had everything that I wanted. So I'm like, Lord, I believe this is my house, right? So make a long story short, I'm like, Lord, this is my house. I'm claiming it. I went over there, I prayed over, I put my foot on the ground. I said, Lord, you said wherever the sole of my foot tread, you have given to me, right? And so I just was standing on the word that was my house, right? And waiting for the other people's deal to fall apart. So I started going to get materials and having contractors come give me estimates, because, you know, faith without works is dead. So if it's my house, I gotta act like it is so, right? Because it is. It's like a title deed. Faith is your title deed. It's the title deed of what you want. So if you got it, you act like you got it. So that's what I was doing. I was moving in faith, and I'm like it got down to the wire. I had already sold my house. Like on the closing statements and stuff, like the documents at the title company, you got to put your address where you're moving to. I didn't have an address. These people still had an offering on that house that was mine. So in faith, I wrote the address down on the paperwork, like, this is my address. So at that point, I'm like, ugh, like, nervous, like, okay, Lord, I'm taking this extra step, and I just remember being in the car, driving to go get more materials. I know I'd be jumping out there, but I'm out the boat all the way in the middle of the river. I don't know, I want to make sure we good. Like, this is my house because I got my kids. It's not just me, I got kids. And I'm like, Lord, I don't want to have them out here, because I done sold my house. I got 45 days to move out my house. I don't own the house no more. So I'm like, what's up? And so he's like, you my child. I don't want you on the street either. So I'm like, all right, you gave me what I need, the ammo I need to keep going. So I'm getting the rest of the materials. Listen, y'all, inspection pass, appraisal pass, everything. They keep it going, right? Everything going good. I'm like, no, Lord, I trust you. It gets to the closing date. I remember like never before, July 3rd, they were supposed to close and they couldn't close. So it ended up being my house. I ended up having free reigns to get it, right? That was the testimony. I got the house, right? Well, not so much. So what happened was I had it and I do creative stuff because I've been in real estate for a long time. So I was able to buy, it was in foreclosure. So I was able to buy the people's redemption rights, pay them money to buy the redemption rights. And I was going to close on my end, refinance it because I have the deed. I was going to, do my mortgage to pay off what they owed on it. And so I'm going through the process. I'm believing I'm in faith, but I know that I was nervous, I was when it got down to the wire, I had got nervous. The bank had they fumbled so many times. They gave the appraiser the wrong phone number. It was crazy. And I've dealt with this lender before and they were really good, but on this deal, it was literally crazy. So I got down to the last minute, and they were trying to push it. I'm rushing the appraisal, trying to pay extra to do whatever I need to do to close on time because once their redemption rights are up, they no longer have access to the property. The people who bought the redemption rights from that, everybody, I lose everything. And I didn't start fixing this house up and everything, everything. Me and my kids living there. So I'm oh my goodness, but I'm believing I'm in faith and I'm supposed to just get this mortgage and believe God that the mortgage is going to go through. But I had two private money lenders who would have gave me the money to pay off the mortgage so that all I would have to do is get the loan and then pay them back. But they wanted the extra $10,000, $15,000. And I'm the Lord wouldn't want me to pay that extra $10,000 to $15,000. In hindsight, I'm I should have paid that extra $10,000, $15,000 because I ended up paying $450,000 for the house. But I remember being nervous. I remember doing everything, praying in the spirit, so I wouldn't be nervous and anxious and all that. I had so much anxiety around it and I'm thinking I'm in faith, but I really wasn't. I drove the day we waited on the clear to close, the day we were supposed to close, I drove to the title company, we getting this clear to close. I'm thinking I'm in faith, but I wasn't paying attention to the inside of me. What happened was we didn't close. So these people who had bought it at the auction, they own the house now, right? And so that was September 2020 that we were supposed to close. And so I'm I don't know what to do now, and it was a long fight, for real, a long fight. I fought for a year and a half. It was crazy that they owned the house and I was able to fight them for a year and a half and stay in the house. So that's a blessing on its own. But I'm trusting God. The bailiff came with an eviction order one time and I'm stepping outside so my kids don't see, nobody know what's going on. My kids don't know what's going on because this is huge. This is where we live, And what I learned was that you think you're in faith, but you got to make sure you're checking the inside of you, right? What's going on? Is God really telling you to do this, or are you in pride, or foolishness because you want it to happen that way? So what it was for me was I thought this was the way to go, but the Lord opened doors. He had opened two doors for me to pay, get the house at the $275 that I was gonna get it at, maybe $285 or $290. So what? Who cares that I paid that, right? But thank God for his grace and mercy. I was able to close on the house January 31st of this year, and I paid more money for the house, but it's cool because I know the Lord gonna pay it off for me, and he supplied the need to pay for the mortgage every single month. So it's cool, and I learned so much from this situation. I learned that if anxiety and fear is there, God leaves us with peace and joy. And if you're uneasy about something, then something is wrong. Pay attention to that. So I wanted to show y'all because that was an expensive lesson. I don't want y'all to have to pay $175,000 to learn a lesson. Just listen to my YouTube channel. You know, so I wanted to share that with y'all because you can really think you're in faith, but be in fear. It was fear disguised as faith. Like I thought I was in faith, making all the faith moves, but the inside of me wasn't right, you know? And so you have to pay attention. I can't stress enough. Pay attention to the inside of you, you know? Because you can be it's faith, foolishness, and presumption. You can be presuming this is what you wanted God to do. Like I was presuming that was the way God wanted me to go, you know, but it wasn't. So I just wanted to share that with you. And I got another one that I'm gonna share with y'all too, another story that I had, I'll share with y'all next time. So if you want to see more content like this, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you'll be notified every time I drop new content.